how's everybody doing? JC here with the Cuban Redneck DIY channel. I want to thank you for stopping by, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. I am trying to grow this channel, and I cannot do it without your help. So check out what the dogs brought in. Actually, not the UPS guy. I know people are going to get on my case about this, but it was extremely cheap, and I hope that the price is not indicative of the build quality. Anyway, this is another step on getting our workshop up and running so we can get some more meaningful DIY projects done. And you got to understand the mentality when it came to choosing this. Number one, there were several contenders. The one from Harbor Freight was very attractive. Craftsman has one for like $150. There are several others on the $200 range. But at the end of the day, they all look about the same thing. They're making the same factory, but the same Chinese guys. So what's the point? One thing that attracted me about this particular model was that the fence is actually removable. That means that I can upgrade, I can build something that is more accurate, wider, and so on. At the end of the day, all that I'm interested on is the module with the motor and the elevator. I don't really care about the tilting because I don't do a lot of miter work. And, you know, if it's a little glitchy on that, that is okay. I intend to put a sled on top of it and just do cross cuts. And that is my thing is about doing accurate square cross cuts. And as long as it does that, we're good to go. Until now, most of the projects that we have done have been with what I call sticks, 2x4s, 2x6, whatever. Most of the stuff was done in the miter saw. And when it comes to cutting sheets, miter saw is really not going to work. And most of the sheets that I've cut, I've used this thing. And if you know anything about this, you probably already know that it's almost impossible to generate repeated accurate cuts. So it's okay for like ripping a sheet or something like that. Not when you're trying to build something and you're trying to cut something to the particular dimensions, especially if it's multiple sheets that need to be of the same size. With that said, I think that before I jump into this, to put it together, the table saw, I want to go ahead and build a sled for my circular saw. Say hello to my mini Ryobi. I did not buy that. I don't know if on purpose I would have gone out and purchased a 5.5-inch saw. But I've had it for a couple of years. It was given to me as one of those packages, one of those bags that have a bunch of stuff in it. And let me tell you something. Regardless of what you think of Ryobi, especially if you have some of those blue and yellow stuff on the past, this green stuff is on point, man. It's on point. This thing. Not too long ago, I was out at a friend's house building a dock, and his branded product, really expensive one, took a dump, and we actually ended up finishing the job with this baby. And I have multiple batteries for it. I have a 2 amp, a 4 amp, and a 9 amp, and so depending on what I need, it's always come through. I gotta say that. The problem is that the circular saw with this is a failure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a sled that allows me to do pretty accurate cuts in order to build several upgrades to the table saw. I want to build wings to extend the table area. I want to build a folding extension that goes away. And then a cart with wheels on it. I already bought some casters. I want to have flexibility. When I'm not using it, I want to be able to put it against the wall, have it go away. If I'm cutting MDF, I want to be able to push it outside and do all that mess out there. If a friend needs help and we're building something at his house, I want to be able to throw it in the back of the truck and go help him out. So with that said, let's start building. Alright guys, so I'm back from the store, and here we have all the materials we're going to use on our circular saw sled. This is roughly about $32 worth of materials, and it consists of a 2x4 3/4 inch sanded plywood sheet, 4 1x2 by 6 foot selected pine, and 2 aluminum 3/4 inch angles. I chose aluminum because I'm using a relatively small and light circle saw. If you're going to use a 7¼ or maybe even a 10-inch, you may want to consider upgrading this to the mild steel, which they also have at the big box store. With that said, this is a very simple build, and I look forward to having it put together, I don't know, in a couple of hours. As you probably already know, when dealing with pre-cut pieces, rare is the case when it comes up to specs dimension-wise. Since the width and length of this piece is not overly critical, I am just going to take reference dimensions from the piece themselves instead of the measuring tape. And yes, I will be using the dreaded edge guide to cut the backboard to size as close as I can. After that, I proceeded to cut 2 pieces from the 1x2 that equal the length of the backboard, and 4 pieces that equal the width. The long pieces are for reinforcing the track guys, and the short ones are for the top and bottom support. After gluing and screwing together the 2 pairs that make the top and bottom supports, I made a small chamfer about 1/4 inch at the bottom of one. In hindsight, I regret not making it bigger. With all the wood parts cut, it is time to install the top and bottom support and turn our focus onto the guide rails. As far as the guide rails are concerned, we need to drill and countersink 2 holes on each end of the face that touch the base, as well as every 6 inch on the vertical part of the aluminum angle. To attach the guide rails to the reinforcement brace, I will be using epoxy. I started by laying down several layers of masking tape in order to keep the epoxy from sticking to the backboard. I applied the epoxy and screwed the 2 pieces together. Hey guys, so here we are about 75 to 80% complete, and so I'm dry fitting all my pieces, make sure that everything fits correct before I screw in place the first guide and square it off. So while doing this, I ran into a little snag, and I want to bring that to your attention, because if you're using a Ryobi or DeWalt saw with a battery on its side, you're gonna have some issues with the way that I originally built this. So the last time that I built one of these was about, I don't know, 3 years ago, something like that, and it was for a Makita, I think it was a 6½, 7-inch saw, something like that. That particular unit had the battery on the back, and in that case, this will fit perfect. However, my mini Ryobi, it's got the battery on the side. So what's going on here is that when you have the depth set to maximum, the battery actually rides onto the outer rail. That doesn't allow the blade to come down square, and it's an issue. So it's no big deal, you know, God gave us a brain, so we use it. So we're just gonna take a step back and re-engineer the approach. In fact, I already have an idea on how to fix the situation. I'm using stock that I have on hand because I don't want to have to take time out to go to the store. I'm trying to finish this project by the end of the day. So given the opportunity, I will probably use different materials, but I think that this will work. So the idea here is to add a 2-inch extension to my outer rail so that the base of the saw rises against that. And that way we'll clear the battery. I think it will work fine. So let's just put it to work. Okay, so here's a close-up of the actual rail. How this works is the saw actually rides along this surface, and this wall keeps it from moving side to side. So what we're going to do is basically add an extension to the bottom piece, and then we're going to add a small surface here to make everything even. So now the saw rides along this surface, and it stops against this one, and this extra space allows clearance for the battery. Okay, so with that out of the way, I jump right into tuning the cut. I was either lucky or the fact that all the pieces were pretty straight and all the cuts were square, but I was able to generate a remarkable square cut after just 4 or 5 adjustments. Hey guys, so here's the final product. What do you think? This type of jigs are extremely useful, even if you have a full-blown wood shop. However, I think they are most useful for somebody who's getting started or somebody who doesn't have dedicated space. You can just vertically up, you can put it in a closet wherever you want. You can make a lot of stuff with it. Subwoofer box, drawers, anything that requires nice and square, repetitive squares or rectangulars up to 33 inches in width. It's suitable for that. I should have used different materials. I was concerned about the weight and using mild steel, but everything worked out. I'm actually quite pleased. We cleared the battery. Perfect. Looking forward to finishing it up tomorrow. I'm going to be adding some clamps to hold the material down. I'll also be giving it spraying a coat of clear. And one of the first jobs you're going to see me using this is the cart for the table saw. Stay tuned for that, coming probably next week. And other than that, I mean, I'm pretty pleased. Took me a little bit longer than scheduled. I scheduled about 2 hours. It actually took me about 4.5, 5 to make all those extra holes and tapping and drilling and all of that. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward build. Don't require a lot of tools. And if you have a circular saw and don't have a table saw, this is by all means a very useful tool. This is JC with the Cuban Redneck DIY channel, and I want to see you on the next build. Please support this channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That allows our videos to show up in your timeline. Thank you.